Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Sanna, everyone. We continue today with the Satipatthana Sutra that we started the end of last year. We stopped on the path where we are starting with the 31 parts of the body today. Having gone over up to clear comprehension, Sati Sampajanya, having completed that essence from the four postures, the Anapanasati, into the four postures, we went into great depth with regards to the meaning of what it means to read internally, Ajata and Bahita. We spoke on that for 2 sessions almost, concerning how important and how vital that paragraph is. Today we come into the 31 parts of the body. How do we come here? It is important to remember. Okay? Again, the breathing, Anapanasati neda. Anapanasati. ඊට පස්සේ, after the breathing, we went into the four postures. The four postures, the basic Satipatthana. So, Kaya Anupassana, in and out breathing. Anapanasati. Anapanasatiya. This Anapanasatiya, internally, externally. That which arises in the body, passes away in the body, arises and passes away. Then the four postures, developing that Satipatthana restraint, four postures. In all four postures. Okay, not only four postures meditation, etara karagana ena bhavanavama, the meditation that you have now been continuing through the Anapana, now unfolding into the four postures, that is the daily life, as much as you possibly could, while you're walking, when you're stood, when you're sat, when you're laying down. When you're laying down. And one might question, in laying down, how the sati establishes when you're laying down. For example, this mind, one must understand that this mind, whatever our mind or wherever our mind may be, when we start walking the path, this mind undergoes change. Neither. The change, we could say, in another way, is the letting go of parts that bring sluggishness to mind, that brings greed, all of those aspects that bring the mind down are gently let go of whilst we take on a more noble state of mind. At this event, when the mind is existent upon a certain practice, there, even at a position of laying down, not the only laying down, but what you do whilst laying down, sleeping included, you carry out with sati. With sati, one might notice, even when, if you are a sleeper or were a sleeper who, let us say, rolls about a lot, moves around a lot, when you start meditating, you would have already noticed maybe in yourself that you don't shift and move all that much. The way that you go to sleep, you wake up in the same posture. Now, in the same posture. Now, one might even question, for example, when in stories concerning the Parinibbana Sutra, when the Buddha, when it speaks about the Buddha's attentiveness when going to sleep with the posture of the feet, uh, the aligning of the toes, one might wonder now, um, in Sri Lanka, if I remember correctly, when the toes are aligned, it is when the Buddha is
Sleeping.
The Buddha is sleeping, they are
sleeping.
aligned, and when
Yeah.
they are sleeping, they are aligned. When it's separated, that's
Is it
Parinibbana.
way? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now in Burma, it is the other way around. In Burma, they um, uh, say the other way around, which is when the Buddha is awake, he is alert, right? Especially if he is awake and with his, he is alert. But when he is sleeping, he is relaxed. Mhm. So in Burma, they preach in the other way, right? We must get to the bottom of that. So I will look at the Pali and let you know.
They say it's because of the pain.
අපි ඕක දානවනේ මෛත්‍රී හාමුදුරුවන්ට. Okay.
I
Yes.
think it's because they say because of the pain at the time of death that the foot moved a little bit.
Mm. Mm.
I have heard that when you're alert, then your body is when you're sleeping, you're still alert to an extent, not like when you're just relaxed, so therefore the foot slips. But when he's sleeping, that's why the feet are together.
Mm.
That's what they told us when we were in Kusinara. But people tell anything, Bante, we don't know what's right.
ඒක මම හොයලම කියන්න පාලිය බලලා. හොඳයි. But what are the point that I was going to come to is, when me අපි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා එකට ඉන්නකොට ඉතින් අපි හරි adventurous. ඒත් අපි adventurous යන්නේ වෙනම විදියකට. Which is දැන් තියෙනවනේ ඔය දූතාංග වර්ග. හ්ම්. අපි උතුරු ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා යාළුවෝ ටික එකතු වෙලා දූතාංගයකට රකින්නවා. Right. A common one that I used to do with the monks at the university was me um, sleeping with your back up. Mm? So sleeping upright. That is on a seated position, right? You sleep without lying down. Harry. You sleep without lying down. And now we, so the monks, in order to also motivate each other, දැන් කම්මැලිකමට රැට කොටුවේ ඉස්සරහම පටන් අරගෙන ඇඳට යන්න හිතුනොත් ඒ වගේ නීවරණයක් හටගත්තොත් ඔතකොට අපි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා ගෲප් ගිහිලා තමයි සතපෙන්නේ ඔතකොට. ඔතකොට එක කාමරයක ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා තුන්දෙනෙක්, about 3 monks in one room, right? And we would all be trying to practice this. So it is very beautiful, and this is one thing that we tried as well, which is හොඳට භාවනා කරලා භාවනාවෙන්ම දවස ගෙවලා ඒ භාවනාවෙන්ම ඒ කියන්නේ හොඳට සමාධිගත වෙච්ච, not only one day of practice but throughout. හරි? Throughout. Where the mind is quite ඒකටම බහැලා, right? ඒකේමයි ඉන්නේ. Where the mind is seasoned in that, so quite calm at that moment. We have tried, you keep the feet, not that we sleep like this every single day, everyone. However, when you keep it in the way that it is mentioned together and determine in the same way and you go to sleep, you will get up in the same way. ඒ විදියටම toes දෙක තියෙනවා. Not moved. That is the දැන් හිතන්න. Then ඕක there, I'm sorry, I'm shifting to Sinhala. I'll remain in English. May think about this, where when it comes to this determination that is made, method determination, sorry, the determination is quite strong here because of the sati that is present in the mind. And with the sati, the samadhi aspect of the mind, also the ability of being with a singular object. හරි දැන් මේක සමාධි පැත්තකින් ගන්නවට වඩා මේක අදිෂ්ඨාන පැත්තෙන් ගත්තොත් again without taking from the point view of samadhi, if we take it as a determination, it is that same determination which strikes ඔය අදිෂ්ඨාන පූජා බුදුහාමුදුරන්ගේ අදිෂ්ඨාන පූජා the the ceremonies, the Adhisthana ceremonies that we do, the Adhisthana pujas that are done, they are all done with this determination. එතකොට කියනවා දැන් අපි කියමු when a yogi takes, let us say, apo as object, apo as object, and develops jhana. Dhyana tippata, although this person has jhana developed over the apo kasina, the person is reborn in the deity realm. Deity realm. Okay? Deity realm. When they are reborn in the deity realms, they are called apo deities, water deities. When they have the earth kasina and they are reborn in the deity realm, they are called earth deities. The earth deities. Now, for example, when you say earth deities, then their natural habitat or atmosphere would be based upon the earth. Hari, earth. These are all you see Adhisthana Shakti. ඊට වඩා තව planes ටයක් උඩට යනවා. 31 planes අපි we did the 31 planes, remember? අපි ධම්ම in the Thursday class.
Yes.
If you go a little bit more higher into the planes, you have the beings who who delight in their own creations, and the beings who delight in the creations of others. They are beyond creators. Remember? What were the Pali? Do you remember?
Paranimita Vasavati is the creation of the others.
Paranimita Vasavati and
The one before is
Nimmanarati.
Nimmanarati.
Now, Nimmanarati and Paranimita Vasavati.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Paranimita Vasavati and Nimmanarati, the people who create or feed off the things of their own creation, that is also here in this circumstance because their ability, of course, their minds are very strong and acute. And when they make determinations, it comes true. Do not think of this like some sort of pseudoscience, but think of it in a quantum way, where because of the power of determination, the ability of bringing about reality or changing the reality of that moment. There is a wonderful BBC documentary done about a man who lived in China, I think back in the 60s or so. This man used to do treatment. He used to treat like a Ayurveda, but he was a sort of a I don't know whether he did herbs, maybe he did. However, he was also energy healer. But he was known as a Ayurveda doctors in that manner he was known, right? Not as an academic or any of the sort. So he was connected. He had a teacher, and the teacher is the one who taught him this technique where when they meditate on the fire kasina. Mm? And with the fire kasina, they have this ability of, with the meditation, to focus on a point and burn it. To burn it. They can focus that energy like a magnifying glass sort of manner. They can burn. So a lot of people with cancers and all of these internal ailments that are going on, he heals it just by holding his hand above and focusing it upon a certain point inside. ඒක මනසින් කරන. The power of determination, very strong spiritual background. The power of determination. When this power of determination all arises in the same manner as this, where we determine sati in with the right volition into this moment, this subjectively as a practice becoming stronger culminates in different parts, just like, for example, the Buddha's Mahakaruna Samapatti. The Buddha's ability of determination. ඕගොල්ලොටම හිතනවා ඇති, you all must have done in your lives, right? Adhisthana. With a pure mind, you might have done adhishtanas and you might have seen those adhishtanas coming true. And if it did come true for you, maybe it didn't, but if it did, and if you can recall of an instance of an adhisthana done with pureness of mind, you will see a sense of honest purity there. Honest purity. That honest purity, that singular moment that is present, is able to make changes. That is why the Buddha says the greatest blessing that one can receive is a blessing of one's mother. Because she, through condition, the mother is positioned at a place. Through society, through norms, through all of these things, okkama conditions. And who she is and what she is and what she feels, she's conditioned to be in a place to give that unconditional without the necessity of anything, receiving anything in return, to give. These all come down to the fact of ape sabba papassa akaranam kusalas sampada achitta pariyodapana. And how that sachitta pariyodapana is, of course, we find the postures meditation, which is not something that is new to us. However, however, while walking understands I walk, gachami thing. While standing, he understands I've stood. While sitting, he understands I've sat down. While laying down, he understands I've lain down. The sati being able to know attentively without judgment what is happening now. Have you had that experience yourself where your sati is so live, ඒ කියන්නේ අමුතුවෙන් හිතන්න ඕනේ, very present. ඉඳ ගත්තම ඉඳ ගන්නවා කියලා දන්නවා. ඔළුව හැරුවම now the Buddha, another thing that the monks, the adventurous monks, the Buddha has this gati of the Buddha never turns his head without turning the whole body. Right? එහෙම හැරෙන්නේ නැහැ. එහෙම හැරෙන්නේ නැහැ. So to do this requires a lot of sati. A lot of sati, right? Where you do not turn the body, turn just the head. You're attentive to turn the body. ඕක අපි උත්සාහ කරපු තව එකක්. ඒ විදිහටම දැන් ඕක අපි උත්සාහ කරපු දැන් තරුණ ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ තරුණ yeah below 30 below 25 මේ below 25 ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ නෑ ඒමත් නෑ ඇත්තටම අනිසම් වැඩිහිටි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා වුණත් you know 30s because we test ourselves we try to see මොකද කැලේ වුණත් even if you're living in the forest it gets quite monotonous so when that monotony hits අර blandness එක එනවා මනසට ඒ අවස්ථාවට during those moments in order to reactivate yourself to energize yourself right you do different things. Some monks go on diets. There was a particular monk who started eating only once in 15 days. Once in 15 days. ටික කරලා එකපාරටම නෙමෙයි ටික කරලා but he had come to the moment of only eating once in 15 days as a retreat. ඔය වස් කාලේට ගොඩාක් කරනවා. ඔතකොට අපේ වැඩිහිටි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ නමක් හිටියා. Sangasobana Bante, he was actually he got ordained at around the age of 50, I think 50 or about 55. And then he developed, so when you're 55, it's like your bones are already hard, no, in a way, right? So Bante was also a surveyor. හරි. ඉතින් so Bante was always about in the forest. He had this very austere practice of he never sleeps lying down. And ඒ සාධකාංගය හොඳටම රකිනවා පරියන්කෙන්. The other thing is when he sits down, he will only sit in the lotus position. Right? He will only sit in the lotus position. Such an inspiration to all of us at the time who had ordained young. We don't do the lotus position, but Bhante Sangasopana now at his probably at the time 60 closing on to 70 doing the lotus and when so I had the opportunity of being his assistant upastayaka. Yeah, so we used to me and another monk so both of us used to go with Sangasovana because he lived up in the mountain. So we had to walk him up and then we had to join him for the Bodhi Puja, which he does near the Bodhi, near his kuti. Right? This is all inside the monastery. And Bante, so when you're sitting with Bante, you have a certain respect in the monastery as well, to be honest. Because when you're with Bante Sangasopana, it's like the austere crowd. So it's like the austere crowd. දැන් බලන්න ආරණ්‍යවල ඇතුළෙත්. It's like the austere crowd. So this austere crowd, so we want to try more austere things as the austere crowd. So Sangasopana Pante Paryanke, when he comes into the lotus position, us young monks, and sometimes most of the time some other monks would also join us, we would try to be in the lotus position as well. It would hurt so much. It would hurt so much, but we would endure. Ara Shraddhavat ekka, Shraddhava, and just the whole thing. With your teacher, ඔක්කොම ශ්‍රද්ධාව, ඉන්ද්‍රිය. ශ්‍රද්ධාවත් එක්ක මෙතන පේන ඔක්කොම you focus and you're there. You have the strength. ඒ strength එක තමයි අපිට වැදගත්. ඒ strength එකත් එක්ක ඉන්න අපි මොනවා කිව්වද? ඒ කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම මේ අර පහනක් තියෙන එක, බුදුහාමුදුරන්ට පහනක් තියෙන එක, පෙරිට් එකක් කියන එක. දැන් ඕවගේ දේවල්ලුත් ඒ ශක්තිය යම්කිසි විදිහකට අපේ ජීවිතේට වෙනම ආකාරයකින් භාවනාවෙන් සහනයක් ගේනවා. ඒත් වෙනම ආකාරයකින් මේ අපිව බුදුහාඳුරන් කෙරෙහි ලං කරවනවා. ඒත් එන්නේ ඒකත් එක්කම අපි of course අපේ භාවනාව ඉදිරියට කරාගෙන යෑමෙන් අපේ ශ්‍රද්ධාව ආශ්‍රද්ධා and the other indriyas they become balanced. Now if we continue the four postures the four postures, to continue the Anapanasati into four postures, which would mean මොනවද මේ අවස්ථාවේ වෙන්නේ? දැන් ආනාපානසතිය four postures වලට අපි දියුණු කරනවා නම් then you're watching, you're able to watch the breath or the ආනාපානසති සතියෙන් throughout the four postures, which would mean that when you go back to the ආනාපානසති with this continued awareness, ආලෝකය හටගන්නවා. Because you're completely steeped into it now. When you're completely steeped into it, which means that the hindrances are suppressed.
Yes.
Suppressed. When the hindrances are suppressed, now the blooming of the mind, the luminous, the nimiti, the මෙව පහළ වෙන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. හරි. Now, moving on. සති සම්පජාන. හරි. Then sati sampajanya is the ability of the mind to maintain the sati throughout, in going forward, in going backward, in looking forward, in looking back, in bending, in stretching. Then we see in the four postures sati sampajanya, continuous sati again on the nivarana yatapat vela, the hindrances have been suppressed. And sati is stable. At this point, the nimitta should become more powerful. Also, we can also, at this point, realize a sense of sustained samadhi, which could be drawn akin to jhana as well. Sustained samadhi මෙතනදී මේකට ජාන පැත්තට මේ වෙලාවේ ධාන පැත්තටත් අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන්. මෙතනින් එනවා 31 parts of the body. Okay, 31 parts of the body. That is where we are starting today. The 31 parts of the body. Furthermore, bhikkhus, a monk reviews this very body, wrapped in skin and full of various impurities, from the soles of the feet upwards and from the crown of the head downwards. In this body are head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin. Okay. Furthermore, bhikkhus, a monk reviewed in this very body, wrapped in skin and various impurities, from the soles of the feet upward and the crown of the head downwards. In this body are, the first category is kesa, loma, naka, danta, kato. Now, we always see that the 31 parts of the body are presented in 6 categories, isn't it? Now, if we
Auntie, isn't it 32 parts? 31 realms and 32 parts.
Yes, in most of the books it say 32.
32 parts and 31 realms of dimension.
32 parts.
And 31 realms. When you count the realms of, the
it is 32 parts, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bante.
32. 32 parts of the body. All right. Thank you, Dil. Now, 32 parts of the body are always seen in 6 categories. All right. Thank you, Balanna. How do we practice the 31 parts of the body meditation?
Head. Starts from the head.
Excuse me, Bhante, can you enlarge the print a little bit, please?
Okay.
When you start, Bante, you first start what you can see, the hair on the head, hair on the body, then they say the nails and the teeth and the skin. So that's the first one.
Thank you,
Those
Bhante.
are from the outside in, hair, body hairs. In English, we say head of the hair, the body, nails, teeth, and skin. Those 5 are the ones which cover the rest of it. And we always get cheated. We look at that and we think somebody is beautiful without knowing that inside you see the flesh and the skin, and then you go further until you get to those bones and then, inside that.
Hari. So, Tava, that was one. Tava, who else?
බන්දේ පටවි තද ගති තියෙන ඒවා ගලාගෙන යන ඒවා ඒ විදිහටත් බලනවානේ. ඉතින්ලා Then the bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat comes later. ඉස්සෙල්ලම තද ගතියට එන ඒවා.
ඔව්.
ළඟට ගලාගෙන යන දේවල්. Tears, grease, saliva, snot ටික දෙවෙනියට බලන්න.
ඔව්. දැන් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කියලා තියෙන්නේ දැන් when you look at the ප්‍රපංච සුදානි which is the මජ්ක්‍ධිම නිකාය අට කතා මජ්ක්‍ධිම නිකාය අට කතාවේ කියලා තියෙන්නේ මේ 31 parts of the body meditation is the first meditation that you give to a newly ordained monastic. හරි. ඒ විදියට I mean just like that is word to word what is that 32 parts of the body is the meditation subject given to a newly ordained monastic. හරි. So to a newly ordained monastic that means මේ කර්මස්ථානය දෙනවා. To a newly ordained monastic. Hence, apita we can take that is where what Dill said comes into action, which is a factor, the way we make the mind up. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ කාය කෙරෙහි තියෙන the raga that we have towards the body. How we bring and make apparent the fact that this is a composition of all of these putrid factors or foul factors. And that even, for example, even if it is the hair or the skin, when you put it under a microscope or when you see it close up, the fact that it is truly something that is of disgust. Okay. Now, that is laid as a foundation in order to build upon an disattachment. Disattachment towards the body. So that is a good place to start. Right. Now, when we do ensure that, when you do start upon that, then what are the other points where these 32 parts of the body can be practiced? Definitely, if the temperament of raga is high, 32 parts of the body. Okay. Attachment to the body, 32 parts of the body. Now, if we go beyond that, then එතනින් 32 parts of the body. එතන 32 parts of the body කිරීමෙන් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ තියෙන රාගය අඩුවීම. කයට තියෙන ඇලීම අඩුවීම. On the other side, how do we introduce the 31? What other places are there?
You can also go, Bhante, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. So you look at all the things which are very solid, and the water, and then the fire, and then the wind going up and down. So you can think like that also, the Mahabhutas.
Yeah.
So that's another way.
That is, ඒක ශිරුමත් කිව්වා නේද? ඒක ශිරුමත් කිව්වා. Which is a fighter of Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu.
Vayu.
And Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, we break the 32 parts of the body onto the categories of the 4 primary elements. Okay. How do we come to that point? Where do we introduce that? Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. Is it after Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu practice or before Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu practice? Again, do we do Patavi, Apo, Tejo, the 4 elements meditation and then do the 32 parts? Or we do the 32 parts and then do the 4 element meditation?
Actually, Bhante, how I have heard is that this 32 parts of the body has to be given very specifically to specific people. Because even Buddha's time, a lot of monks have done this and had committed suicide. Asubha Bhavanaවෙන්. And then when you do guidance to a large crowd, some will benefit, some will take it the other way, and their minds won't be able to grasp it. එහෙම කියලාත් කියනවා, you have to be very careful with that. Because that's why I was wondering why it was given to new monks. කියලාත්.
Bante, that was like with the Marananusati when Buddha went and whole lot of people committed suicide, but there are others also. It happened in London Buddhist Vihara. I remember when Bante, you were explaining and about eating and the food went and how it was of course a lot of cons they built, but that first talk, all the white people who were there and the others who wanted to create problems came and said how impolite, talk about food and that when you spit out it's bad and how it goes and there was a whole lot of things that the English people they never talk on that, and this is not the way to teach to English people. No, that was new, but
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
mischievous.
Okay. Yeah. හරිද?
So it's not for everybody, Bantu.
Yeah, yeah. So that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ඒ ඉංග්‍රීසි කට්ටියට අපි කිව්වනේ අමරාවතියට ගිහිල්ලා බලන්න කියලා නේද?
බලන්න. ඔව් බන්තු
බල කඳවල් ගිහිල්ලා අසෝ භාවනා වඩන
ඒක තමයි මං කිව්වේ මිස්චිවස් කියලා. බට් ඉතින් අර මෝඩ ඒගොල්ලන්ට තේරුම් නැති ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒවා එහෙම
හරි
කරනවා.
හරි මෙත්තා හරි.
අමාරුයි.
Now Kesa Loma Hari. So then we have the Dhatu Manasika, the 32 parts of the body is often, yes, it is often given to monks, depending upon the monastery, but because usually when you're coming into robes, and at that new point, when you are coming into robes, you come with a lot of virya. And something like the 32 parts of the body also requires a lot of virya because there are 32 counterparts in 6 sets. 6 sets, 32 parts, which also requires virya. Hence, the attachment to the body for monks to work on that in their preliminary period, it is used as a technique because monks come the mindset that is present during that time, the wanting to disattach, the wanting to get away. However, the 32 parts of the body here, before Dhatu Mansikar, 4 elements meditation, and after 4 elements meditation, the person, a yogi, can do it. It is not impossible. In the method of Venerable Pauksyado, when you come to the 32 parts of the body, right, the Bhante explains 2 approaches, which is the Samathayanika method and the Vipassana method. The Yuga, the Samatha Jnana Vipassana, at this point or to come into this point, you have the Aloka. You have the Aloka. Based upon the Aloka, you go into Jhana. With the Jhana, you discern each Kesa, Loma, Naka, Danta. Now, the jhana, they say, there are events where the jhana practitioner is not absolutely seasoned. ඒ කියන්නේ samadhi is arising, however, the samadhi is not absolutely pranita. It hasn't developed into the 3rd stage or the higher stage of that jhanic power. So it is rather weak. So when with jhanic samadhi, when you're trying to take this object, at times it may fail. It says again go into the anapana sati jhana and then advert again. If it fails, drops, again go into the anapana sati jhana, look at it again. That is with weak jhana. If the jhana is struggling to take the object, but as you take the object, it says take one object at a time. When with a jhanic samadhi, when you take the object, what will happen is kesa. If it is kesa, the head hair, a nimitta, a sign, a perception of the head hair will arise to you. That happens through that samadhi that arises with the ekagrata towards the kesa. When that occurs, one then discerns deeper into the kesa to realize what? to realize the fact that that is made out of that Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu founded in the Kalapas. Kalapa Isram Pene Kalapin Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu Vanaganda Rasoja. Vanaganda Rasoja. But there is another way that one could do it, which is where there is no jhanic samadhi, dhyanak nahe, one again and again re-adverts ekyanne ආනාපාන සතිය. ආනාපාන සතිය නිමිත්ත මට්ටමට ඇවිල්ලා නිමිත්ත තියෙනවා කියලා කියන්නේ it means that a nimitta arises usually when you are fully absorbed in the anapana, right? This absorption is not jhana absorption, it's satiya samadhi. ඒ jhana පැත්තට නැහැ. This absorption with the anicca dukkha anattama contemplation මේකම මිනිත්තු 30ක් පැයක් ඒකටම අත්හරිනවා. Usually when with karmasthana I have realized, and this becomes better, when you take karmasthana, after you take the karmasthana, you're trying, right? You're trying, but because you're now trying hard, the karmasthana practice isn't effective. ඒ දවසේම. The next couple of days, where now the Guruvaraya, the teacher has given you admonition, the teacher has given you teachings, you have slept on it, right? You have tried to practice, but you sleep on it. And when the mind comes, rather than the sleeping on it, when the mind is relaxed and takes this in a manner, contemplates this in a manner where you're not holding on to it, but just discerning it. ඒ බැලන්ස් එකකින් කර්මස්ථානය දැක්කම කර්මස්ථානය හොඳට පුරන්න පුළුවන්. That is also where now the Guruvaraya, the teacher might be forceful at times, might be telling you off, might be telling you do this, do this, do this. And there might be a lot that is being spoken. When you let that sit, and then when it goes into, when you're approaching it from a more relaxed state of mind, that is what works without the attachment. So even in the anapana, whilst we are talking about a lot of things and reading a lot of sutras and having a lot of data to work with, when we are in the anapanasati and we let go of going anywhere else, any need or volition arising pertaining to what's going to happen next, when that ceases, that will be a position that allows you to be in the absolute present. නේද? ඒ කියන්නේ අර වෙන තැනකට අරන් යන volition එක නැහැ. ඒක නැති වෙනවා. ඒක අත්හරිනවා. You let go of that. And that happens when you're approaching it, when you're surrendering completely to this moment. Surrendering completely into this moment where you have no concern about the result, but you're only with what is. Where you're only with what is. Then the nimitta will organically, when that natural order and balance arises, this luminous, the luminous nature of the mind will become radiant. That radiance of the mind is what manifests as the nimitta. That radiance. So the nimitta is not just a ray of light, but it is a sheer manifestation of the current position of mind. Of mind.
Bante,
So,
Bante, where do you explain to us, like from the Visuddhimagga, I think, about the Tikkapanna, and where you look about the hardness when you're on solitary retreat and in your time, the hardness and like the Patavi, the flowing of the cohesion of the Apo, and you said those factors that we have got on the earth, hardness, roughness, heaviness, the water flowing, and the fire, heat and cold, and the wind supporting, pushing. The ඒකත් එන්නේ ඔය සතිපට්ඨාන සුත්තේ 4 elements meditation එක කරනකොට තික්කපන්නවට කියලා අපිට එක කාලයක් බන්ති උගන්වුවේ අපිට.
the Tikapanya is the mind's ability, the Tikshana Nuana. Tikshana Nuana. right?
So that wasn't how you develop.
Higher penetrative ability of prajna.
So isn't that how do you develop the four elements meditation එකේ තමයි බන්තේ අපිට කිව්වේ ධාතු මනසිකාරය කරනකොට මේ වගේ you can review the body also එහෙම the earth element එක. ඉතින් ඒක එන්නේ රූපේ ඔහොම බලාගෙන යනකොට four elements meditation එක කරනකොට ධාතු දිහා බලනකොට ඔය ඒක ඔය 31 parts වල එන කොටසක් නෙමෙයි මේ මනසම
So the 32, so
31. Yeah.
think of it like this.
Yeah.
The body is there.
Yeah.
Okay. The body is present. Within this body, or this body is made up of four elements.
Yeah.
The body is made up
Yes.
of four elements.
Yes.
And the body is made how? Is made up of kesa, loma, naka, danta, tacho, all the organs and the skeleton and all of that.
Yeah.
Right? Now, have that spectrum. Okay. So if you are looking at the general nature of the body through the four elements, that is also possible. However, if let us say a meditator to look at the four elements, it's four. Remember me, this 6 foot long tall body, you have to break into four, which is a very general categorization, isn't it? Right? Meaning within the nature of Patavi, there can be a lot that can be seen within the nature of Vayu, Apo, Tejo, similarly. Because of this nature, because of this, the mind may go astray. The mind may go astray, because the object is too wide of a scope. හරි දැන් පඨවි ඔළුවේ උඩත් පඨවි තියෙන පුළුවන් කකුලේ පාදයටත් පඨවි තියෙන්න පුළුවන් but as the mind is going from the head to the toe the mind can go somewhere else as well because you see now in order to narrow that scope down අර ධාතු ළඟට ගිහින්න පරමත්ත ස්වභාවය කෙරෙහි මනස යොමු කරන්න to bring the mind towards the four elements the ultimate reality you can approach it by breaking the body in the first instance into 32 parts and you observe those 32 parts in categories of 5 which makes 6 which you see in front of you on the display the handout මෙතන 6ක් තියෙනවා 6 groups of 5
Yes.
okay 6 groups of 5 when there are 6 groups of 5 you know this is put in this manner for a reason okay the mind cannot be given too many objects to shuffle. Because if it is given too much to sort out, and if the indriyas, the faculties are not strong enough, what could happen is that the mind could go into a state of distraction. Want to think about something or a doubt can arise or whatnot, right? Because of that, Pao Shadow or teaches his technique, or he teaches in the sense he talks about the Buddha's technique in this manner, that is how I know it, which is how first the meditator with the jhanic samadhi or the vipassana samadhi, where there is no jhana but anapanasati, the second part that I explained. Without the jhana, you're contemplating on anicca dukkha anatma of the breath and you're contemplating to a moment where you completely let go into the breath. There, the aloka will arise. When the aloka is solidified, then you can contemplate with that samadhi, එතනින්ම එන්න ඕන. Then, just because you had it yesterday, you can't enter it from another door. You can't go around the back door. You have to enter it through the anapanasati, go into in the same path. And then from that position, you take or make as object kesa. Kesa, 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 kesa. Again and again, again and again. At that moment, the samadhi will be established on Kesa. Kesa, Loma. It was Loma. Kesa, Loma. Then the samadhi will appear on the Loma. Naka, in the same way, then Danto, Tacho. These five you do or you continue till these five you can discern well. Very familiar with it. Alright? Very familiar. Of course, we are very familiar with these things. Right? Not on the mundane, but on the meditation, when you take it as object, me nimitta, the mind will manifest the particular respective aggregate in front of you. This you contemplate, or you can go deeper into the Atmansikara. But at this moment, whilst we are still in the middle of the 32 parts of the body, when you finish with the first 5, then you go on to the second. It doesn't make flesh, sinews, bones, bone marrow, kidneys.
Yes.
You advert these again and again up until, like the same manner, the first part where you can deduce the මේ කොට්ටාස කීපු ගමන් මේක කැඩලා පේනවා. Can see them. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. After having completed the sixth, then you contemplate it together. When you contemplate it together, the body breaks into 32 parts. 32 parts. Each and every part of these 32 parts, you will see like it is flickering. Sorry. Arising and ceasing. Arising and ceasing. Within this arising and ceasing, suffering is to be known. Through the seeing of arising and ceasing and suffering, impermanence and suffering, non-self is to be known. Non-self is to be known. That is the approach that we see here, coming down from Anapana to the 32 parts of the body. Okay, 32 parts of the body. The other manner that you can approach this is, of course, through the categorization of the 4 elements, where if your direct objective is to go into the 4 elements, then we look at the 32 parts of the body discerned according to the 4 elements. Once you do that, once you discern it so, then when you say Patavi, you will see all of the respective attributes. One by one, you collect it on, make it easier, so that the mind only has to focus on one particular part at one time, not to overwhelm oneself, but to take it easy and allow yourself to fully immerse in the present moment observation. Just as if there were a bag open at both ends, full of various kinds of grain, such as hill rice, paddy, green gram, kidney beans, sesame, husk rice. A man with good sight were to open a bag and examine them, saying, this is hill rice, this is paddy, this is green gram, this is kidney bean, this is sesame, this is husk rice. So too, a monk reviews this very body, wrapped in skin and full of various impurities, from the soles of the feet upwards and from the crown of the head downwards. Soles of the feet upwards, crown of the head downwards. You can imagine with your experience, how much a person would have to be with this. ඒ කියන්නේ හාල් ගන්නවා නම් මේම හාල් දැනගන්න. පොඩ්ඩක් හාල් දෙක ඉන්න ඕන නේද? You have to see a couple of greens, examine them, maybe. Is it so?
Yes.
Might
So,
be either. Are you able to say difference between a lot of different types of rice?
through experience
Uh,
over the years, yes.
oh, maybe. Now, so you could imagine in the same way that a person would build that experience with rice. How that person builds that experience and familiarity with the 32 parts of the body. Again and again, fully allowing and immersing oneself into the mind frame of the 32 parts of the body. වෙන කිසිම දෙයක් නැහැ. Only the 32 parts of the body. And 32 parts of the body, which then would allow you, because මේක වෙනම සංඥාවක් නේ. This is a completely different sanya, where we are seeing the body through the 32 parts that it is made up of. So it is a completely different sanya.
Bante, if I can ask a question, what we do for this asubha, the foulness, this meditation, we also contemplate asubhai, asarai, dugandai, kila repulsive, it's unpleasant, it's bad smelling and repulsive, that it completely goes into the impurity of it.
Yes.
Not the dhatu, not the anitya,
Yeah.
but just taking, then we go into this, in the guided meditation, we take the skin, how it was beautiful at the beginning when you're young, and how the wrinkles come, how the acne comes, the abscesses come, the pus comes, the diseases come with each organ. How the hair falls, hair turns white, hair, and then you can get bald, and how it was pretty at one time and then it happens like this. So the actual nature of it is very foul. Pilikul.
Yes.
So one by one.
One by one, in the same manner, පිළිකුල් භාවනා පැත්තට යනවා නම් උතකොට පිළිකුල්. It is now, this perception, this particular part is fully the perception of foulness.
Yeah.
හරි. දැන් කොහෙටද මේකෙන් එන්නේ? ඉස්රාම අවස්ථාවේ yes, foulness. පිළිකුල් භාවය ඒ කය අත්හැරීමට, රාගය අත්හැරීමට, foulness meditation. ඒ ධාතුන් හරහා එන විදිය තමයි දැන් මෙතන කතා කරේ අපි. ධාතු හරහා. ඒත් මෙතන වැදගත් කොට තමයි යශිරෝම පිළිකුල් භාවනාව. It is the asubha sanya.
Yeah, and then as you said, then we can go to dhatu and the anitya. So in that meditation, we separate all the parts like the hair and throws it out, and we separate the parts and throw it in front. And then see there is no, then we go to Nama Rupa, there is no I in any of those pieces, because none of those organs or pieces can act on its own. So where is the I in any of those pieces, and go to a bit of the anatta side. And then also when we throw it out and then see, come back to the where the body was, see what you see, and then the mind goes to total emptiness, because there's nothing there. Everything has been separated and thrown out. And at the end of the day, there is shunya, emptiness inside. Within all.
Thrown out කොහෙටද විසික් කරා?
ඉස්සරහට. ඒ guidance එකේ අපි කරනවා කෙස් අරගෙන ඒකේ how it was beautiful, how it's falling and decaying and impure and changing nature, and you take all the hair out and throw it in front of you to a bundle. Then you imagine the hair in front of you. Then you say, now look at your body and the body without the hair.
Mm.
So it's then you go to the skin,
Mm.
then you contemplate on the acne and how it gets wrinkled and old and once pretty, but you can't, there's no control over it.
Mm.
Then you take the whole skin out and throw it in front of you.
Mm.
So you have a pile in front of you with skin. And then you go to the muscles, the bones, all these 32 parts, and you throw it in front of
Sure.
you.
Sure.
And then the bones go last, the structure of the bone, the white bone, the round circular bones, the molar, atta bones, digger bones, ketty bones, everything, you throw it in front of you. Then you go to a place, leaving in front of you within hours, within days, it will crack, break, turn to dust and turn to dust right in front of you if you left there. Then you say, bring your awareness to where the body was, and suddenly it's nothing there. There's nothing there. And a lot of people, I mean, I know some of them are in the audience today, have done that and reported the mind goes to total emptiness where these parts come together to make a body. When the parts are not there, there is nothing there. There is nothing real there.
Mm.
ඒ අසුභ භාවනා ගයිඩන්ස් එක අපි ඒත්තන්ටම ගෙනියනවා.
Okay, Shilpa. May Ethana, okay. So that is another way that can be done. May is there any others who would like to any other ways of practice as well? I think there are plenty of ways the different monks traditions they hold in terms of coming into Asura Bhavanas, and we have other techniques from the different parts that we see here also which are used in going into the Asubha Bhavana. Let us, does anyone else have anything to say? Hari. A man with good sight were to open the bag and examine them, saying, so too a monk reviews his very body, wrapped in skin and full of various impurities, from the soles of the feet upwards and from the crown of the head downwards. Hmm? In this body there are Kesa, Loma, Naka, Danta, the whole 32. Here too it applies internally, externally, internally and externally. So this is the foulness meditation. Hence internally 32 parts of the body, once internally seen, then externally also 32 parts of the body. When one sees it, experiences it internally, then that what is experienced internally can be manifested into what is external. Then internally and external, meaning internal, external, wherever there is these, the Kesa Loma, the 32 parts of the body. He dwells contemplating states that pass away in this body. The states that arise and pass away in the body. Arise in the body and pass away, and arise and pass away. It arises, it ceases when any one of the corners are start dead, arising, ceasing. They are there. Or else he maintains that the mindfulness that there is a body merely for knowing and awareness, and he dwells independent, not clinging to anything in the world. And that, bhikkhus, is how a monk dwells contemplating body in the body. The analysis of the four elements. Furthermore, bhikkhus, a monk reviews this body, however, it may be placed or disposed in terms of the elements. දැන් මෙතන කලින් අසුභ වශයෙන් දැක්ක the asubha that arose or was cultivated in this state, we cannot leave it at Asubha. We have to bring it into a position where it manifests into the letting go, the Vipassana aspect, where Anatma becomes clearer. At this stage, in order to do so, the four elements are introduced. The four elements here allows one to then, with or through the Vipassana cultivation or jhana cultivation, to come into a clear understanding or discerning the 32 parts of the body clearly. Those 32 parts of the body now can be seen as belonging to or as part of the four elements, made up of the four elements. There are in this body the earth element, the water element, the fire element, and air element. Just as a skilled butcher or his apprentice, having slaughtered a cow, were to sit at the crossroads with the carcass divided into portions, so too a monk reviews his body, however it may be placed or disposed, in terms of the elements. In terms of the elements. This element meditation, we have done the fourfold technique, and we have also gone into what is the 12-fold technique, isn't it? The 12-fold technique.
That's when I said, Bante, the earth has got hardness, roughness, and those 6 water flowing and coincident fire. And that you explained to us that the Visuddhi Magga explains it like that, Bante. Before you go to foulness, that the 4 elements, you can look like this also.
Yes. Before you go into
the foulness, before you go into the foulness, and then you look at the Maranana, the body dying, and that part of it, that is even another state, the decomposition. Right, you go to the foulness, but what Shiro was saying, and then you can go further to the Maranana city, where you set those 12 stages or 9 stages or whatever, where it finally, gets bloated and blue, and that is even further. But this one, where these 12 states are up at the hardness, so we give heaviness, roughness, and never high flowing cohesion කියලා අපිට කිව්වේ එතනත් 12 එනවා විසුද්ධි මාර්ගයේ ඔය මේ 4 elements meditation එක මහා සත්‍යපට්ඨාන කියන එක විසුද්ධි මාර්ග හැම කියනවා කියලා තීක්ක පාන ලැබෙනවා කියලා බන්තේ අපිට එක කාලයක් ඒක ඒ විදිහටම තමයි අපි භාවනා කරන්නේ.
Yes, the 12-fold technique. Yeah. Right. The 12-fold technique. Here, the 4 elements brings us to a deeper point where we are able to let go of the vohara that we use to deem the mundane body and look at it in a deeper sense akin to its ultimate presence, which is the 4 elements. But the 4 elements, whilst we discern the 4 elements also allow us to find the first cluster of experience to do with physicality or paramatha physicality, where we learn that in the existence of these 4 elements, with it comes a sense of structure, a sense of place, a sense of material composite. There we have Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja. Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja. Which is the cluster, the full cluster that we experience as we go into seeing or coming close to the Paramatma nature. Paramatma nature. Do you have any questions regarding this particular part?
But that's a Suddhashtaka you're saying, isn't it? The 4
That
elements.
is a Suddhashtaka.
Yeah.
That is a Suddhashtaka.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions pertaining to this part, which is the elements meditation? Okay. We have done it so many times, isn't it? The elements, we've done it so many times. But in the Satipatthana Sutra, we've learned, even with what we've gone through with Mahasi shadows and Power shadows, explanations of the Dhatu Manasikara, we've seen that the Dhatus present such a wonderful way into experiencing the body in a completely different light, owing to its intrinsic characteristics of materiality, internally and externally, everywhere, in every part, internally, externally, කියන්නේ මේ all that we experience is not exclusive to this particular position. It is not exclusive. It is inclusive to any material nature. That is a very important realization which allows for the breaking down of Atma, isn't it? Which is a fact of what is within is that which is found outside. What is outside is also that which is found within. The fact that all of these are at the end natures of Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, and ceasing.
Yes, Bhante.
Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, arising and ceasing.
Yes.
Now,
See, Bhante, that in that page 151 is interesting, though it said by mistake type 31. See, the first four of those have got 5 each. So there is that, this thing with the external skin and all that, those fighting, there are 5. And the first 4 have 5 each. So that's 20. And the next 2 have 6 each. That's 12. So that's why it's 32, Bhante. So it's not 6 or 5.
32.
Yeah, no, so that's why. Because if it is 6 or 5, that's 30. But when you look the first 4, when I counted it just now, it's 5, 5, 5, 5, and then the last 2 have 6 and 6. So therefore it is 32. So we don't normally count with the same, but while you were talking, I just counted.
Yep.
So that's how it's obviously 32. පහේව මම ඔය 37 factors of දෙනකොට අය 2 or 4 and 2 or 5 and එහෙම ගණන් කරනකොට 37 factors එනවා 1 of 8 and 1 of 7. So when you don't memorizing, I have a method, because otherwise we put the 4 noble truths, එතනට 4 foundations of mindfulness and 4 iddhipadas. Otherwise, normally when you just think, what are the 37, you put 4 noble truths there. But it's the 4 foundations of mind. And then the pancha bala, the indriya and the bala. So when you count like that, it becomes easy to remember. Memory otherwise plays tricks, Bhante. Thank you, Bhante.
So, the 9 charnel ground meditations, furthermore, just as if he were to see bodily remains thrown aside in a charnel ground, 1, 2, 3 days dead, bloated, livid, discolored, festering. So too he compares this very body with that thinking. Such is the nature of this body. It will become like that. The way that we remember what we spoke of in the Sunday class with regards to the contemplation of that which falls within a lifetime. From the moment of arising, taking up adhana, remember, taking up and putting down.
Nikkepa.
Adhana and nikkepa.
Nikkei.
Adhana nikkepa. Then balanna, do you remember that? What we Adhana nikkepa matakta?
Yes,
In the Adhana nikkepa, we spoke of Adhana nikkepa to the ones who don't know what we are talking about. Adhana nikkepa is Adhana is picking up, nikkepa is putting down. And in this cycle of samsara, moment to moment, you're picking something up and putting something down. Okay? We are taking up objects. But as we take up objects and then it ceases, another object arises. Okay? Adana Nikepa, Adana. Okay? In life, you pick up when you have a birth or when you have a karma leading to birth, Adana. ඒ කියන්නේ ප්‍රතිසන්දිය චුතිය සිද්ධ වෙනවා කලින් භවෙයි. After that, the Patisandhi happens, and then the Bhava takes place at that moment. Adana, Ussanava. Hari? මෙතන මොනවද උස්සන්නේ? What are you picking up? You're picking up family. You're picking up you're picking up all whatever circumstances, anything that is there. Anything connected to this experience being inside the womb, whatever little you have as experience and any sound vibrations, හැමදේම ආදාන. You're picking up. Then there comes නික්කේපන කාලයක්කුත් එනවා. හරි. නික්කේපන කාලයක්කුත් එනවා, which is the time that you're putting down. හරි. දැන් මහන්සි වෙලා ගත්ත ලොකු ගෙවල් දැන් වෙන පවුල්ත් එක්ක පවුල් වෙලා දැන් මේ පවුල චූටි වෙලා දැන් downsizing නේද? ගොඩක් කට්ටිය downsizing කරන්න හදන කාලේ. To little flats or all of these things. ආදාන නික්කේපන. This is a cycle of life. And it is a cycle of this very moment itself. ආදාන නික්කේපන. ඒ ආදාන නික්කේපනේ. Now see, Satipatthana, how we came to this moment, channel ground meditations. All the channel grounds were 32 parts of the body, Dhatu Mansikara channel grounds. 32 parts of the body, Dhatu Mansikara channel grounds. What happens? You are going to see the nikkepana of this life. Hitanna. When you're sitting in front of a corpse or when you are looking at a dead body and when you're thinking to yourself, this is what's going to happen to me too. You're thinking about Nikkepana. You're taking the Nikkepana moment as the object.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Nikkepana moment as object.
Object.
Auntie, is it Nikkepana or Nikketana? I have written it wrong.
Nikkepana,
Nikkepana.
Mama Tana Kiralila to me.
So Nikkepana, the moment of Nikkepana is that final ceasing, which is death. And you're looking at Nikkepana, that is the end of life. When this falls into sanya, it can be vidarshana sanya or vatunama. When it falls into the scope of your vipassana as you're doing it, what you're looking at then is the fact that this life and everything that I'm holding dear to this skandha, this pancha skandha, is ultimately going to end up in that position. Dead, bloated, festering and all of that if it is. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ කය යම් දවසක ඒ තත්ත්වයටපත් වෙනවා. ඒ අවස්ථාව මරණයෙන් පස්සේ. මරණයෙන් පස්සේ මේ කයට වෙන දේ.
Decay.
Now that is in එතන. Now through the vipassana you will see the end of your life. End of your life. That is where it's going to. Okay. Now when you see the end of your life, you have now finished half of the Adana Nikkepana. The other part that is missing for you is the past, which is your moment of birth. You understand? But your moment of birth is a little bit more difficult to see. Why? Because it requires samadhi. And the ability to discern the cause and effect. Okay? ඒ කියන්නේ මේ අවස්ථාවේ යම් කිසි ඵලයක් තිබෙයිද මේ ඵලේ හේතුව පේන්න ඕන. ඒ කියන්නේ when you discern what is how did this come to be කිව්වම විදර්ශනා discernment එකකින් මේකේ හේතුව discern වෙනවා. Okay? For example, let us say you have a certain irritation of mind that arises. You ask, why has this irritation? You acknowledge, note it, and then you ask, Why has this irritation arisen in me? The irritation has arisen because of a physical pain. It's not a thought, it's discernment. Discernment. ඒ විදිහට දැන් ඔය පොඩි discernment නේ. We do it, but it is so important. Although those are small discernments, the other, based upon this, the samadhi cultivates further with the prajna and the rest of the indriyas. Then you can discern bigger things, which is a factor when you advert to a certain phenomena and you discern what is the cause of this, then අර cause එක කරනවා. විදියට ඒ ක්‍රමයට you go back up to the moment that you are up to the moment of birth. Up to the moment of birth, you discern backwards. Then ඕක කරන්නේ මේකට පස්සේ. This is the nikkepana. That is the ආදානදය. That is the ආදාන. ආදාන නික්කේපන සම්පූර්ණ කරාට පස්සේ, when you finish the picking up and then the seizing, what you have now discerned is the panchaskandha for the whole life. Do you understand? You have now discerned the panchaskandha of the whole life. ඒ කියන්නේ රූප වේදනා සංඥා සංස්කාර විඥාන
Vinyan. Yes.
of this life. දැන් මෙතන මනුස්ස පුද්ගල සංඥාවක් තිබ්බාද ඒ මනුස්ස පුද්ගල සංඥාවට මේ අලුත් ඥානයක් එකතු වෙනවා. Which is a factor of අරකට වඩා මේක ප්‍රබලයි. එතකොට තමන් දැන් ජීවිතේ දිහා බලන විදිය දැන් පේනවා මෙතන තියෙන ස්කන්ධය. උතුරු මේ ස්කන්ධය පටන් ගත්තේ තැන ඉවරෙන්නේ තැන. That is one skandha. Then,
ඒකේ මේ ස්කන්ධ එක බලනවද? You take like
yeah, you do.
let's take like the person and see episodes of person arising, passing, then arising, and then do you take every skandha like take a vedana and go backwards with the passing, and then where was the rising, and then take a sanya, do it like that, or
When you ආදානනිකේපන, when you look at one life as one block, right?
yeah.
උපාදටිටි භංග, ඔතකොට ඒ බ්ලොක් එකේ රූපයක් තියෙනවා, වේදනා සංඥා සංස්කාර විඥාන. ඔතකොට මේ පහම ඩිසර්න් වෙන්න ඕන. ඊට පස්සේ පහම ඩිසර්න් වුණාට පස්සේ ආපහු මේකමයි. Internal, external, internal and external. Right? Then ඔතකොට මෙතන දැන් මේ සත්‍යය ඩිසර්න් කරා. මේ සත්‍යය දැන් අපේ ජීවිත ඇත්තටම අපේ ජීවිත අපේම නෙමෙයිනේ. එක පැත්තකින් අපි සම්මුති ලෝකෙ විදියට අපි බැලුවොත් අපේ ජීවිත අපෙත් නෙමෙයි. අපේ ජීවිත බන්ධනය වෙලා තියෙන අනිත් මිනිස්සුන්ට නේද? Right? If you think to children, to family responsibilities, to duties, all of that, right? එහෙම බන්ධනය වෙලා තියෙනවා නම් ඔතකොට දැන් බලන්න internal is this skandha. ඔතකොට බන්ධනය වෙලා තියෙන කට්ටියවත් විරාග කරන්න එපා. ඔතකොට ඒක external එක. Are internal and external, if we don't finish the internal and the external, internal you will see, yes, skandha, it are paraloke, කියන්නේ external world, you will see some atma. With that atma, you will be fooled to think that they have importance. ඒ හින්දා internal panchaskandha, internal මේ සත්වයා and external. ඔතකොට මේ සත්වයට තියෙන වැදගත්කම තමයි අර සත්වයන්ටත් තියෙන්නේ. Do you understand?
Backwards යන එකක් නේද?
Sorry?
You go backwards. It's first see the nikkepana, then go to see the adana. Like kind of going backwards. Contemplation.
Contemplation. විදර්ශනාවෙන් වැටෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි කියනවනේ මරණය ජීවිතය අනියතයි.
නියතයි ජීවිතය අනියතයි.
මරණය නියතයි ජීවිතය අනියතයි.
Nitya.
හරි.
Yes.
ඔතකොට මරණය නියතයි ජීවිතය අනියතයි කියලා කිව්ව. දැන් ඒකින් උත් අර කියන්නේ අපේ මේ ජීවිතය අනියතයි කියන කතාවනේ. ඒ අර channel ground meditation when you're seeing අර මල කඳ එතන පේනොට අපිට ඒක වෙනම විදියකට ඒක වැදෙන්නේ. Especially when you're doing vipassana, මොකද අපිට හිතා අපිව වල no Buddhists are not cremated, but if they are, right, if they are sorry, Buddhists are cremated, but if they are buried, right, you see that they are usually, again, this is the way that we will lie in the ground.
Anuevila.
This is the way that you lie in the ground. Now, for example, even in Burma, in places like Indonesia, right? Indonesian Buddhists did not cremate. They just went and threw the bodies inside, right? And the island of Bali, there is something special in the island of Bali. They say in a particular place where when you put bodies in, it doesn't smell. It doesn't smell for some reason, right? And people would just throw, and monks would go and linger around in these areas and meditate, and meditate. Even in Burma, in those outskirts, places that are quite in the outback, they don't bother cremating. They just go and sort of dispose of the right. Sometimes it is so shocking sometimes with culture, and I think it is so important that we also see these things when we travel, because it really questions your outlook, your own views of life. Because to death we give so much of importance, isn't it? We give so much of value, we give so much of honor, we give so much of everything to death, right?
Yes.
And the way that different other cultures view death and how they treat the dead and how their minds work with pain and grief at times of death really makes us question what and where our own emotions are coming from. Because we have been conditioned in such a manner that we believe this is the right way, this is the right way to mourn and do all of that. But you go out and you see these different practices and beliefs and way the people are. I went to an outback town in Burma, and there was a funeral. The mother died. There was no one who was crying. There was absolutely no one who was crying. And I asked, no one seems to be. I was with another Bante. I asked the Bante, why isn't there anyone crying? Why isn't, in that village, he said, because it was his devotee who had passed, in that village, it is disrespectful to cry. It is disrespectful to the dead to cry. And I was thinking,
අපි තමයි බදාගෙන අඬන්නේ නේද? අපි තමයි අඬන්නේ.
right, because of that condition.
Bante, I went
too attached.
Bante, I went for a funeral not so long ago. She was the president of our ladies' college, OG. She was a born-again Christian. And I was so surprised because she rejoiced that she was meeting a maker. She made her children become bridesmaids, and the boys in the front, the nephews, and they dressed their best. They had to go like for a wedding. Here the mother has just died. She had cancer, and many times she got miraculously cured, but finally her body gave after about 5 or 6 or 10 years. But when she gave away, she made all the daughters and all like they were bridesmaids. They had to go and get their hair done, wear their best thing. And all of us had to sing. Nobody could even cry. All of us who were not even nobody. And then they had a big party afterwards and like a wedding celebration. And I came back and I had a long time I had to Pachavekan and thing and to get it all. So unnatural. When we were all told we had to have bright colors and come, and nobody could come in white or whatever, black or if they're Christian, white should be okay. And the daughters had to be like the bridesmaid. They wore their best jewelry. And the mother's body, when it was taken into, she was cremated. And when it was taken into that, like how our bodies go into that thing, they all sang hallelujah, and it was so difficult, even though we were warned. So I can imagine what you felt when you saw the Burmese way, because it's so unnatural to us. We are not used to it.
Yes, yes. There was definitely a sense, to me, it felt unnatural for sure. I remember that is why I was so, I asked, I even wondered whether she wasn't that much liked in the village. I wondered. But it was not the case. It was just the culture where they did not have any tears. We will leave it at that, everyone. And we will continue the week after. Next week, we will be having Dhamma Sangani Abhidhamma discussion. We have finished Dhamma Sangani already, but we'll be discussing Abhidhamma if you want to join us.
Bante,
Oh,
in this, we have only one more page to go.
okay, that's
Make
fine.
your then.
That is fine. That is fine.
So we will still go through this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One more page.
එක page එකයි තියෙන්නේ බන්ති. ඊට
There's a
පස්සේ
lot more pages.
157 එකට හැරෙවුවාම ඉවරයි.
Don't worry, it's fine.
ඊට පස්සේ තියෙනවනේ.
We will continue
තියෙනවා,
next week,
තියෙනවා.
everyone.
ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. ඔව්.
එහෙනම් අපි
තව
අදට
තියෙනවා 159, 61 මේ
ඒක
තියෙනවා.
තමයි.
Yes, I can
ඒක
see.
තමයි. Hari. So we will continue next week, everyone. All the best to everyone. ඔක්කොමලාටම තෙරුවන් සරණයි.
තෙරුවන්
තෙරුවන් සරණයි
සරණයි
බන්තේ.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි.
Bante.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි.